NATO panic. Russian weapons factory mass production of new missile shocks US. The ongoing conflict in Ukraine has thrust air defense capabilities into the spotlight. Both sides are heavily reliant on air power, with Russia deploying fighter jets, bombers, and drones, and Ukraine utilizing a mix of Soviet-era and Western-supplied air defense systems. In a significant development, Russia recently announced plans to increase production of air defense missiles. Russia is increasing production of air defense missiles, Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said in video footage released on Tuesday, adding there were key issues that needed to be addressed. Shoigu was shown inspecting defense industry facilities in the Urals industrial city of Yekaterinburg and touring factories producing sea and ground-launched cruise missiles and air defense systems. There has been a significant increase in the volume of production. We have more than doubled production of the missiles we need for air defense, he said at one factory. But there are some key issues we need to address, and we need to address them quite vigorously. There is the question of engines, and there is the question of the establishment of launcher production. The Defense Ministry published the videos on its Telegram Messenger channel. Russian officials have in recent months flagged rapid improvements in the country's military-industrial capacity, aimed at bolstering Russia's military in its deadlocked campaign against Ukraine. Over the recent weeks, attacks, some of which have been claimed by Ukrainian officials or blamed on Kyiv by the Kremlin, have hit Russian cities and oil and gas facilities. Several factors likely contribute to Russia's decision to ramp up air defense missile production. Countering Ukrainian drone threat, Ukrainian forces have effectively employed unmanned aerial vehicles UAVs, particularly Turkish-made Bayraktar TB2s, to target Russian armor and logistics. These drones, while not technologically advanced, can pose a significant threat when used strategically. Increasing air defense missile production allows Russia to potentially counter this growing threat. Protecting critical infrastructure, recent drone attacks on Russian oil refineries highlight the vulnerability of key infrastructure. Boosting air defense capabilities could deter or mitigate future attacks, safeguarding vital assets. Shoring up defenses against Western weapons, Western nations have supplied Ukraine with sophisticated air defense systems, such as the Stinger missile and the NASAMS surface-to-air missile system. Russia may be aiming to bolster its own air defenses to counteract these advanced systems. Modernization and domestic production, Russia's military has acknowledged shortcomings in its air defense systems, particularly regarding outdated technology and reliance on some imported components. Increased production could be a move towards modernizing air defenses and promoting domestic production. Russia's military modernization. Against the backdrop of the Ukraine war and evolving security challenges, Russia has pursued a comprehensive military modernization program aimed at revitalizing its armed forces and enhancing its strategic capabilities. Central to this modernization effort is the development and deployment of advanced air defense systems, designed to counter potential threats from adversaries and project power in contested areas. The proliferation of advanced technologies has transformed the nature of modern warfare, necessitating adaptive responses from military establishments worldwide. Russia's investment in air defense missile production reflects its recognition of the evolving threat landscape, characterized by the proliferation of unmanned aerial vehicles UAVs, hypersonic weapons, and stealth aircraft. The development of systems like the S-400 and S-500 underscores Russia's commitment to staying at the forefront of military innovation. Russia's decision to ramp up air defense missile production amid the Ukraine war can be attributed to a combination of strategic, geopolitical, and tactical considerations. Firstly, it serves as a deterrent against potential adversaries, signaling Russia's resolve to defend its interests and assert its influence in the region. Secondly, it addresses perceived security threats emanating from neighboring states and international actors, thereby safeguarding Russia's territorial integrity and national sovereignty. The escalation of air defense missile production aligns with Russia's broader strategic objectives in the Ukraine war, which include maintaining regional stability, protecting Russian-speaking populations, and countering perceived encroachments by Western powers. By bolstering its air defense capabilities, Russia seeks to establish a credible deterrent against airborne threats while maintaining a strategic advantage in contested theaters. Russia's expansion of air defense missile production reverberates across regional dynamics, particularly in Eastern Europe and the Black Sea region, where tensions remain high due to the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. The deployment of advanced air defense systems not only enhances Russia's defensive posture, but also influences the calculations of neighboring states and international actors, shaping the broader security architecture of the region. The escalation of air defense missile production by Russia has direct implications for the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, affecting military operations, strategic calculations, and diplomatic efforts to resolve the crisis. The deployment of advanced air defense systems complicates NATO's ability to conduct aerial operations in the region, potentially altering the balance of power on the ground and influencing the dynamics of the conflict. Russia producing 3 times more artillery shells than US and Europe for Ukraine. CNN report, Russia appears on track to produce nearly 3 times more artillery munitions than the US and Europe, a key advantage ahead of what is expected to be another Russian offensive in Ukraine later this year. Russia is producing about 250,000 artillery munitions per month, or about 3 million a year, according to NATO intelligence estimates of Russian defense production shared with CNN, as well as sources familiar with Western efforts to arm Ukraine. Collectively, the US and Europe have the capacity to generate only about 1–2 million munitions annually to send to Kyiv, a senior European intelligence official told CNN. The US military set a goal to produce 100,000 rounds of artillery a month by the end of 2025, less than half of the Russian monthly output, and even that number is now out of reach with $60 billion in Ukraine funding stalled in Congress, a senior army official told reporters last week. What we are in now is a production war, a senior NATO official told CNN. The outcome in Ukraine depends on how each side is equipped to conduct this war. Officials say Russia is currently firing around 10,000 shells a day, compared to just 2,000 a day from the Ukrainian side. The ratio is worse in some places along the 600-mile front, according to a European intelligence official. The shortfall comes at perhaps the most perilous moment for Ukraine's war effort since Russia first marched on Kyiv in February 2022. U.S. money for arming Ukraine has run out, and Republican opposition in Congress has effectively halted giving any more. Meanwhile, Russia recently took the Ukrainian city of Avdiivka and is widely seen as having the initiative on the battlefield. Ukraine is struggling not just with ammunition, but also growing manpower shortages on the front lines. The U.S. and its allies have given Ukraine a number of highly sophisticated systems, including the M1 Abrams tank and, soon, F-16 fighter jets. But military analysts say the war will likely be won or lost based on who fires the most artillery shells. The number one issue that we're watching right now is the munitions, the NATO official said. It's those artillery shells, because that's where Russia really is mounting a significant production advantage and mounting a significant advantage on the battlefield. Russian war machine in full gear. Russia is running artillery factories, 247 on rotating 12-hour shifts, the NATO official said. About 3–5 million Russians now work in the defense sector, up from somewhere between 2 and 2–5 million before the war. Russia is also importing ammunition. Iran sent at least 300,000 artillery shells last year, probably more than that, the official said, and North Korea provided at least 700 containers of ammunition carrying millions of shells. Russia has put everything they have in the game, the intelligence official said. Their war machine works in full gear. A rough equivalent in the U.S. would be if President Joe Biden invoked the Defense Production Act, a U.S. official said, which gives the president power to order companies to produce equipment expeditiously to support the nation's national defense. Russia's ramp-up is still not enough to meet its needs, U.S. and Western officials say, and Western intelligence officials do not expect Russia to make major gains on the battlefield in the short term. There is also a limit to Russian production capacity. Officials say Russian factories will likely hit a peak sometime in the next year.